Faithfully delivering value and interpreting great global books. Oh, hi, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today we continue with part one of German history, covering four periods. After the 30 Years' War, Germany was fragmented internally, but Prussia rose from the northeast, sparking unification hopes. Ah, Germany's hope. The next part will also cover four periods. The fifth period. The Napoleonic Wars awakened national consciousness, leading Germany toward unification. The sixth period suffered major setbacks, falling from world power to defeated nation. The seventh period, the Nazis rose and Germany plunged into an abyss. The eighth period, reborn from the ashes from East-West Germany division to reunification. Okay, now let's start with the fifth period. The Napoleonic Wars awakened national consciousness, leading Germany toward unification. From the late 1700s to mid-1800s, spanning about 80 years. In 1789, the French Revolution erupted. In September 1792, France abolished the monarchy and established the French Republic. Over in the Rhine region bordering France, influenced by that, it broke away from the Holy Roman Empire and formed the Republic of Mainz. This freaked out the Austrian Archduke, the Holy Roman Emperor, and Prussia couldn't stand it, so their alliance overthrew the Republic of Mainz. But the good times didn't last. In 1804, Napoleon created the French Empire and began expanding, starting the Napoleonic Wars. Germany, east of the Rhine, was hit first. Napoleon saw Austria and Prussia, the big players, as key targets, and his strategy was to back smaller states. After isolating Prussia and Austria, Napoleon attacked Austria in 1805 and captured Vienna. Then he crushed the Russian and Austrian forces at the Battle of Austerlitz. After that battle, Napoleon forced the Austrian Archduke to drop the Holy Roman Emperor title, ending the empire. So Germany had no supreme power anymore. Next, Napoleon aimed at Prussia. He elevated duchies like Bavaria and Saxony to kingdoms, making them equals with Prussia, then formed the Confederation of the Rhine from small Rhine states. This angered Prussia, which decided to fight France, but the Prussian army was outmatched. At the Battle of Jena, the Prussian main force got wiped out. Napoleon marched triumphantly into Berlin, and the Prussian king fled. Figuring he needed a break after years of war, Napoleon kept Prussia but shrunk its territory, part to the Confederation of the Rhine, part to Saxony. Prussia also had to give up its Polish partitions. Napoleon set up the pro-French Duchy of Warsaw to keep watch on Prussia. The Prussian army was cut down to 40,000 men, losing its ability for large-scale combat. Basically, Prussia lost nearly all the territory it had gained through over a century of expansion, tumbling from a top-tier power to a minor border state. After securing Germany, Napoleon started imposing heavy taxes to raise war funds. To blockade Britain, Napoleon banned trade with England across continental Europe. This dealt a heavy blow to the Rhine region, which depended on industry and commerce. Even worse, Napoleon enforced conscription in the German territories. According to records, out of the 600,000 French troops that invaded Russia, 250,000 were Germans. All this sparked widespread resentment among Germans, fueling a united anti-French sentiment. German national consciousness awakened in 1808, right after Prussia's defeat. 2 years later, philosopher Fichte delivered his addresses to the German nation in Berlin. He urged the German people to end their division, unite to drive out the invaders, and build a unified nation-state. The belief in a German fatherland began spreading, but the question was, who would lead it, Austria or Prussia?
This created a power struggle between Prussia and Austria.
First, look at Austria. After dropping the Holy Roman Emperor title, the Austrian Archduke declared himself Emperor of Austria and appointed Metternich as foreign minister. Metternich sized up the situation. He arranged a match, marrying the Austrian emperor's daughter to Napoleon. Through this marriage, Franco-Austrian relations improved significantly. Giving Austria breathing room, Metternich seized the chance to stir up Franco-Russian tensions, goading Napoleon to invade Russia and waiting for its defeat. Metternich stepped in to conduct armed mediation. What does armed mediation mean? It meant Metternich meeting Napoleon, demanding the dissolution of the Confederation of the Rhine and the Duchy of Warsaw. Otherwise, a coalition of Austria, Prussia, Russia, and Britain, with 350,000 troops, would march on Paris.
Napoleon rejected such harsh peace terms and fought the coalition at Leipzig, resulting in a crushing defeat for the French.
Napoleon abdicated, and the French Empire collapsed. Thanks to Metternich's maneuvering, Austria gained strong momentum to reclaim leadership over Germany. At the post-war Congress of Vienna, Austria regained much lost territory and, with British mediation, rallied Prussia, Bavaria, and 38 other states to form the German Confederation. Naturally, Austria took the lead role. But Prussia also gained significantly. It acquired half of Saxony, the Polish region of Danzig, and the entire Rhineland. The Rhineland's thriving industry and commerce later produced Krupp, which became Germany's heavy industry giant. And, located in the Rhineland, this was like giving Prussia a huge gift. How did Prussia score such a windfall? It was Britain's idea. After the Napoleonic Wars, Britain needed to suppress France to prevent its resurgence, and simultaneously curb rising Russia to stop its European domination. So Britain backed Austria and Prussia to counter France and Russia, but didn't want Germany too strong, constantly provoking Prussia-Austria conflicts to exhaust both. Interestingly, this suited France and Russia too, since neither wanted a major neighbor. Yet Prussia broke this deadlock to seize German leadership. How'd they do it? Through economics and military might. First, economics. Post-war peace massively boosted Germany's industrial growth. Prussia led the charge, dominating textiles, coal, steel, and more. By mid-19th century, Prussia had established the Ruhr, Saar, and Silesia as three major industrial zones. Heavy industry output exceeded half of all Germany's.
Prussia formed a customs union, pulling in 80% of German states. No internal tariffs, free movement of goods.
Simultaneously, Prussia built railways connecting all states, while Austria's exclusion severed its economic ties with German states, weakening its leadership. Then came military pressure. In 1862, Prussian King Wilhelm I appointed Bismarck as Chancellor and Foreign Minister. Bismarck, born a junker, saw German unification as his mission. How to achieve it? In his inaugural speech, he declared economic power insufficient. They needed blood and iron. Thus dubbed the Iron Chancellor, Bismarck first expanded Prussia's army to 600,000 with modern equipment. He then seized two German-populated regions from Denmark, both military training and nationalist fuel. Sure enough, Prussia was fired up. Unification urgent. But Austria wouldn't surrender German leadership without a fight. Conflict loomed. In June 1866, the Austro-Prussian War broke out. By then, the Prussian army had revolutionized everything from strategy to equipment. The new railway system gave them powerful mobility. In contrast, Austria used outdated Napoleonic tactics. Predictable outcome, huh?
In just over 2 months, Prussia reached Vienna, forcing Austria into a humiliating treaty.
The war ended with Austria yielding German leadership to Prussia, now driving unification. Austria shifted focus eastward. In 1867, it formed the Austro-Hungarian Empire with Hungary, exiting German affairs. Now only France blocked unification, and France had recovered from Napoleon's wars. Under Napoleon III, France thrived, fought in the Crimean War, Second Opium War, Italian Wars, regaining power. But Prussia haunted France. Post-Austria War, Prussia matched France's population and surpassed its army size with better conscription. Industrially, Prussia's coal output tripled France's. Steel surpassed it. Rail mileage similar, but Prussia's network was way more efficient. France feared a unified Germany would crush them, so Napoleon III tried keeping Germany divided, even planning to strike Prussia early. Perfect for Bismarck, he wanted France to start the war so Britain or Russia couldn't intervene. So he provoked France until public fury erupted, calls to flatten Prussia. Cornered, Napoleon III had no choice but to act. In July 1870, France declared war. Prussia crushed them, capturing Napoleon III himself. France surrendered, the last barrier to German unification gone.
Then, 1871.
On January 18th, Prussia's Wilhelm I proclaimed the German Empire in Versailles' Hall of Mirrors, crowning himself emperor. Dawn of modern Germany. The newborn Germany encompassed 39 states, including most of Poland and the seized Alsace-Lorraine region from France, covering over 500,000 square kilometers. With 41 million people, it became Europe's second strongest power after Tsarist Russia. Then came Germany's sixth period, suffering major setbacks, tumbling from world power to defeated nation. Spanning about 45 years from late 19th to early 20th century. After unification, internal barriers vanished and the economy boomed. The imperial government especially pushed heavy industry. Take railways, a key indicator. In 1870, Germany had about 18,000 kilometers of track. By 1890, over 41,000 kilometers. Astonishing growth. Massive railway construction drove up steel demand. In 1875, Germany produced 2.03 million tons of pig iron and 350,000 tons of steel, way behind Britain. But by 1900, pig iron hit 14 million tons, steel 7.4 million tons. Steel output now led Europe, surpassing Britain. The steel boom fueled mining's rise. Notably, after the Franco-Prussian War, Germany gained Alsace-Lorraine. This mineral-rich region held 300 million tons of limonite, key for steel, while all other German areas combined had just 300 million. Truth is, Alsace-Lorraine's mines propped up Germany's steel industry. As mining and steel grew, engineering and machinery manufacturing followed. Beyond traditional sectors, the government backed new industries like electrification, chemicals, and optics. In 1879, Siemens invented the electric motor, converting electricity to mechanical power. 2 years later, Berlin launched the world's first electric tram. Then in 1883, Emil Raphael partnered with American inventor Edison to create German General Electric, bringing electric lights to homes. And hey, Germany's chemical industry soared too. By 1877, Germany already produced over half the world's synthetic dyes. Today's Bayer, famous for pharmaceuticals? Yeah, it started with synthetic dyes.
By the early 20th century, factories sprouted everywhere. Industrial zones like the Ruhr and Saar buzzed non-stop.
So, where'd all the workforce for industrial production come from? Well, at unification, over 63% of Germans lived in rural areas. As industrialization spread and machines took over, rural cottage industries couldn't survive. So, rural folks flooded into cities like Berlin, Hamburg, and Dresden to become workers, turbocharging Germany's urbanization. By 1900, Germany's population hit 49 million plus, with 54.3% urban. Germany had basically modernized, but its political system lagged way behind its industry.
Per the German constitution, the empire had 22 states and 3 free cities sending reps to the federal council.
On paper, the council had legislative power, but the emperor came from the Hohenzollerns by birthright, and the councillor doubled as Prussia's PM, meaning the council couldn't elect leaders or remove them.
Plus, Prussia held 17 of 58 council seats. Bavaria, second largest, had just 6. And the army? Loyal only to the emperor.
Prussia's military system spread nationwide. Clearly, the federal council was window dressing, zero power to check authority. The German Empire was an absolute monarchy. Thanks to Wilhelm I trusting Bismarck and Bismarck's skills, Germany achieved remarkable success. But with a different emperor? Well, that's another story. In 1888, 95-year-old Wilhelm I died, and his grandson Wilhelm II took the throne. A year later, Bismarck resigned and retired. What went down?
Turns out Wilhelm II and Bismarck clashed hard over foreign policy.
Bismarck believed unified Germany was in a precarious position. First look west.
France, crushed in the Franco-Prussian War, burned with hostility, dead set on reclaiming Alsace and Lorraine to restore national pride.
Then east. Tsarist Russia pushed into Eastern and Southern Europe, nearing Germany's sphere. Finally, Britain across the Channel maintained its balance of power strategy, keeping European nations checking each other so none dominated the continent and threatened Britain. So Britain's keeping a close eye on Germany, wondering what its next move will be. With that in mind, Bismarck pushed for keeping a low profile to not rile up the big powers. Because if Britain, France, and Russia joined forces, Germany wouldn't stand a chance. And so he held back the nationalist urge for colonies to avoid clashing with Britain, France, and Russia abroad. But Wilhelm II, just crowned at 29, wanted to make a splash and was sick of playing it safe. He pushed Bismarck out and flipped Germany's foreign policy upside down, from careful to charging ahead with colonies. Germany aimed first at East Africa, grabbing huge chunks of Tanzania. By the 1900s, German colonies in Africa spanned over 2.34 million square kilometers, 6.6 times bigger than Germany. In 1897, Germany muscled in and took China's Jiuzhou Bay, claiming Shandong province as its turf. Then, in 1900, it jumped into the Eight-Nation Alliance invasion of China, kicking off a scramble to slice up the country. Wilhelm II's colony grabbing pushed German nationalism through the roof. Plus, he went all out building up the Navy. In a mere decade, Navy spending shot up 10 times, and Germany's fleet size leaped to number 2 globally. This was a blatant grab for Britain's top spot on the seas. Wilhelm II boasted triumphantly that Germany was on its way to world domination. But in all this colony rush, Bismarck's nightmare came true. Britain, France, and Russia, feeling threatened, teamed up against Germany. Germany countered by buddying up with Austria-Hungary, setting the stage. The Entente with Britain, France, and Russia versus the alliance with Germany and Austria. War was just a spark away. June 1914, Archduke Franz Ferdinand and his wife got assassinated in Sarajevo, Serbia's capital. Austria-Hungary declared war on Serbia, and Russia, playing protector, jumped in against Austria. Then Germany stepped up to support Austria, and Britain and France, Russia's pals, jumped in. Boom, World War I erupted. Wilhelm II had hoped to focus on the Western Front, crush the Brits and French first, then swing east to take on Russia. But instead, German troops got stuck in a brutal slog in France. Verdun and plan failure. Verdun and the Somme saw over 2.3 million casualties, and Russia attacked faster than expected, so Germany had to shift troops east. Poof, the quick win dream died. In April 1917, America joined the war, tipping the scales completely to the Allies. Germany's defeat was sealed. Domestically, things worsened. Economic depression, shortages, basic survival became hard. With horrific casualties, nearly every German family lost someone, spreading war weariness. On November 3, 1918, sailors at Kiel Harbor launched an armed uprising. Then Hamburg, Bremen, Munich, Frankfurt, all major cities erupted. Finally, Berliners rose up. This wave of revolutions in November became known as the November Revolution. A panicked Wilhelm II fled to the Netherlands. On the 11th, Germany surrendered. World War I ended. Oh, it cost Germany over 8.9 million military casualties, plus 6.3 million civilian deaths from starvation, plague, and chaos. Germany fell from world power to defeated nation. But this wasn't rock bottom yet. Next, the 7th period. With the Nazis' rise, Germany would plunge into an abyss. Time frame: from 1918 to 1945, 27 years. Post-war, German parties formed a national assembly, drafting a constitution in Weimar. In August 1919, Parliament adopted the constitution, proclaiming the Weimar Republic, Germany's first republic. But from the start, the Weimar Republic struggled, rooted in the Treaty of Versailles. At the Paris Peace Conference, the victors punished Germany harshly. Per Versailles, Alsace et Lorraine retournent à France. Belgique, Czechoslovakie, Pologne ganga le terrain allemand. The Rhine's left bank was occupied. Right bank demilitarized for 50 kilometers. Total losses over 70,000 square kilometers of land and 7.3 million people, devastating for Germany's economy. Germany lost 75% of its iron ore, causing pig iron production to plummet by 44%. Steel and coal output also crashed, throwing millions out of work, worsening unemployment. On top of this, Germany owed 130 billion marks in reparations, payable over 30 years. Cornered, the Weimar government printed money recklessly, triggering hyperinflation.
Oh man, from August 1922, Germany's daily inflation hit 21%. Prices doubled every 3.5 days. The mark collapsed against the dollar, plunging from 18,001 cent to 4,000,000,001 cent. Total disaster for Germans. Decades of savings vanished overnight, and wages couldn't even buy 2 meals.
Then, with U.S. aid, Germany's economy improved briefly. But nope, in 1929, America's financial crisis hit, leaving it unable to help Germany. That crisis soon swept globally. Germany couldn't escape. German industrial output halved. Thousands of small businesses bankrupt. Unemployment soared past 6 million. Germans sank into despair, praying for a Bismarck-like strongman to pull Germany out, fertile ground for Hitler's rise. Hitler started as a nobody in the German Workers' Party, just 50 members, zero influence. But with fiery speeches and cunning tactics, he quickly became its leader, renaming it the Nazi Party. Hitler preached fanatical nationalism, winning the party followers. But left-wing parties dominated German politics then, especially the Social Democrats and Communists holding top parliamentary seats. Compared to them, Nazis were fringe. How'd they flip the script? 2 reasons. First, exploiting public despair by telling people what they wanted to hear. Left-wing parties insisted Germany uphold democracy and build good ties with Western democracies. Hitler fired back. Those democracies imposed the Versailles Treaty to crush Germans. To recover, we must smash Versailles and reclaim dignity.
He also promised economic stability, relief for the unemployed, and enough jobs.
These ideas hit home. Nazi support exploded. In 1920, Nazis had barely 100 members. By early 1930, over 1.4 million, half workers and clerks, plus small business owners, hit hardest by the crisis. And second, the Nazis also gained support from financial capital groups and the military. Left-wing parties pushed to limit big capitalists' and financiers' rights, hiking their taxes to narrow the wealth gap. This scared the financial groups, so they backed Hitler to counter the left. Yeah, and that's plus Hitler's expansionist strategy won big praise from the German military. So financial capital groups and the German military teamed up to strongly back the Nazi Party. Now, they petitioned President Hindenburg to use his constitutional power to directly appoint Hitler as chancellor. Hindenburg then named Hitler chancellor in January 1933, dissolved the Reichstag, and called new elections. With the state machinery helping out, the Nazi Party scored 43.9% of the vote and 288 seats, becoming the biggest party in the Reichstag. Right away, Hitler used all sorts of tricks to kick left-wing parties out of the Reichstag, making the Nazis the only major force. In August 1934, Hindenburg died, and Hitler merged the president and chancellor roles into one, calling himself Führer, seizing total control over party, government, and military, marking the end of the Weimar Republic. After becoming Führer, Hitler cut unemployment from 6 million to 2.53 million in a year, and by 1936 down to 1.6 million. After 1938, Germany had no unemployment left. Nazi propaganda bragged this was an economic miracle. Actually, Hitler's methods were simple. First, building public projects like highways, barracks, airports, and stuff. The Nazis even had this weird rule. Unless absolutely necessary, don't use machines. Use human labor instead. This multiplied labor demand, and the Nazis organized millions of young men and women for mandatory work. Second, expanding the bureaucracy, massively adding civil service jobs. The Nazis also broke free from Versailles Treaty limits, conscripting widely and urging youth to join the military. Yep, These moves really cut unemployment, but building public projects, expanding bureaucracy, and military all cost money. So where'd it come from?
Germany's fiscal situation uncovers the secret. Stats show after the Nazis took power, Germany's national debt rocketed from 12.9 billion marks to 31.5 billion marks. The budget deficit surged from 2.4 billion to 10.5 billion marks.
From 2.4 billion marks to 10.5 billion marks. In other words, the Nazis' money came from issuing bonds and printing cash. Similarly, the Weimar Republic had been swallowed by inflation, so how'd the Nazis turn this into an economic miracle? The secret lay in predatory expansion. Hitler stopped war reparations and reoccupied the Rhineland demilitarized zone. In March 1938, Germany annexed Austria. In September, seized the Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia. Through this expansion, Germany plundered vast wealth and resources, fueling economic recovery. Plus, the international scene favored the Nazis. World War I had killed millions of young Europeans, so Britain and France desperately avoided war. They pursued appeasement toward the Nazis. America practiced isolationism, focusing inward, letting Hitler's expansion seem triumphant, stoking Germans' ultranationalism. But plunder can't last forever, and Britain or France couldn't appease endlessly. On September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland, crossing Britain and France's final line. Thus began World War II. The war splits into two phases, divided by America's entry. First phase, from September 1939 to December 1941, Germany seemed unstoppable, swiftly taking Poland, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Norway, pushing Britain to the brink.
Yugoslavia, Greece, and other southern European nations fell too.
In June 1941, Germany attacked the USSR, reaching Moscow's outskirts in under 6 months. Soviet losses topped 4 million. At its peak, Germany and its puppets, like Italy, Bulgaria, Romania, controlled most of Europe. Second phase, from late 1942 to May 1945. After Japan attacked Pearl Harbor, the Pacific War erupted, and America joined the Allies. With America's massive war production, the tide turned toward the Allies. Meanwhile, the Soviets won major battles like Stalingrad and Kursk, launching counteroffensives. By early 1944, the Soviets reclaimed all territory and forced German allies like Hungary and Romania to quit. In June, Allied coordination and decisive, opening a second front. Then, Soviets advanced west while Anglo-American forces pushed east, squeezing Germany. In April 1945, Soviet forces launched the final assault on Berlin. On April 30th, Hitler committed suicide. On May 8th, Germany surrendered unconditionally, marking the end of Nazi Germany and the European theater of World War II. Now we enter the 8th period, rebirth from ashes, from east to west division to reunification. 1945 to 1990, spanning 45 years. Post-war, Germany faced 3 tasks. First, reckoning with Nazi crimes. Second, accepting the division of Germany. Third, economic recovery. Rising from the ruins, first addressing Nazi atrocities. Nazis committed horrific crimes domestically and abroad. Using the Gestapo, secret police, they created a vast surveillance network to monitor citizens and crush dissent. For example, Munich University's famous White Rose resistance group was uncovered by the Gestapo. Its leaders, siblings Hans and Sophie Scholl, were executed by guillotine. The Gestapo also collaborated with the SS to build extermination camps like Auschwitz and Buchenwald in Eastern Europe, implementing genocide policies. During World War II, over 6 million Jews were systematically murdered. Post-war, the Allies established the Nuremberg Tribunal to try Nazi leaders. Top Nazis like Hermann Göring, Joachim von Ribbentrop, and Wilhelm Keitel stood trial. 12 high-ranking Nazis were hanged. The Gestapo and SS were declared criminal organizations. Occupation zones held subsequent trials. High-profile 130, cash market gone.
About 60,000 Nazis were convicted of war crimes and crimes against humanity.
Germans initiated denazification. Nazis faced prison, forced labor, or job bans based on involvement severity. Worst offenders lost voting rights and were barred from public office for life. Through Nuremberg and denazification, Germany largely eradicated fascism. But the Nazi Party, with millions of members after 12-plus years, couldn't be fully eliminated. Moreover, the US and UK shielded some useful Nazis, letting them escape justice. This planted seeds for neo-Nazism's resurgence in the 1990s. All right, next we'll cover the second challenge post-war Germany faced, the East-West division. Under the Yalta and Potsdam agreements, Germany was divided into occupation zones by the US, UK, France, and Soviet Union, with an Allied Control Council jointly administering Germany. Germany's future political system was to be decided jointly, but the Allies began splitting internally. In March 1946, former British PM Churchill declared in a US speech that an iron curtain has descended between West and East, with irreconcilable differences. This marked the confrontation between the US, UK-led Western Bloc and Soviet-led Eastern Bloc. The Cold War began. So the four-power administration became unsustainable. In 1949, Germany formally split. Western US, UK, French zones became the Federal Republic of Germany, West Germany, about 250,000 square kilometers. Capital, Bonn. The Soviet zone became the German Democratic Republic, East Germany, nearly 110,000 square kilometers. Capital, Berlin. Germany became the Cold War frontline, with Berlin as the hottest spot, uniquely located in Soviet territory but containing Western sectors. After division, Berlin split. West became West Berlin, FRG, East became East Berlin, GDR. As Cold War tensions rose, hundreds of thousands fled East Germany via West Berlin to the FRG. Suddenly, Berlin became the focal point of East-West confrontation. To stop the flow, East Germany built a wall on West Berlin's border in 1961, the Berlin Wall. The 167-kilometer concrete wall had trenches, watchtowers, and guards authorized to shoot escapees. Thus, the Berlin Wall became the Cold War's ultimate symbol. Despite division, both Germanys faced similar challenges, which brings us to the third issue. Economic recovery, rising from the ruins. WWE devastated Germany.
About 7 million men died. Cities like Berlin and Dresden were bombed to rubble.
Germany lost a quarter of its territory, including East Prussia and Upper Silesia. Industry was shattered, with production capacity halved. Railways, roads, and other infrastructure were destroyed. Unemployment was rampant. Many lacked housing, shivering in the cold. With terrible conditions, newborn mortality hit 16% in early post-war years. But Germany quickly bounced back, reviving its economy and improving lives within years.
How'd they do it?
Take West Germany. Chancellor Adenauer set core policies: rely on America, reconcile with France, join the West. Post-war, America launched the Marshall Plan, giving economic aid to rebuild Western Europe. West Germany got $3.65 in aid, plus billions in U.S. investments. Huge for economic recovery. Adenauer also worked to mend ties with France. He said, Germany and France must end the cycle of revenge, drop hatred, and cooperate fully. France, wary of U.S. dominance in Europe, also needed Germany as a partner. In 1952, France and Germany pushed 6 nations to form the European Coal and Steel Community, starting European integration. The ECSC became the EU's precursor. Domestically, Adenauer appointed economist Ludwig Erhard as economy minister for reforms. Erhard scrapped Nazi-era economic controls, broke monopolies, opened markets, encouraged private enterprise, reviving the economy. These measures gave West Germany's economy powerful momentum.
In 1949, national income was 47 billion marks. By 1955, 85 billion.
In 1957, West Germany's foreign trade ranked third globally. Gold and forex reserves soared from 0 to 23 billion marks. By the 1960s, unemployment stayed below 1%, essentially full employment. It absorbed workers from Italy, Spain, Yugoslavia, boosting West Germany's weight in the ECSC. In 1970, West Germany's GDP hit $187.05. over 38% of ECSC's GDP, 46% of industrial output, 38.6% of exports, 45.3% of gold and forex reserves. West Germany had become Europe's economic engine. Meanwhile, East Germany also gradually recovered its economy under Soviet guidance. In 1970, East Germany's per capita income reached 15,700 marks, about $7,850, even higher than the Soviet Union's. But East Germany's development had a critical flaw: over-reliance on the Soviet Union. So when the Soviet economy declined, East Germany deteriorated too, widening the gap with West Germany. In 1990, facing economic crisis, the Soviets accepted West Germany's proposal: 15 billion marks in aid in exchange for Soviet troop withdrawal from East Germany and non-interference, accelerating reunification. On October 3, 1990, East Germany joined West Germany, completing German reunification. Post-war, Germany abandoned expansionism, linking its growth to Europe through active integration. Germany co-founded the European Community and was a core member. The EU emerged in 1993. The euro launched in 2002, both driven by Germany's leadership. This approach eased fears of German expansion, enabling its rebirth as the world's fourth-largest economy. Okay, that concludes German history. Notes are below. See you next time.